Welcome, Facebook Live, friends and Tiger Nation. We are here with our 15 for 15 show. We're doing a little thing different this week. It's called the State Championship, and the Massillon Tigers are going for the third time in a row. My entire life, I went twice, and in the last 3 years, I get to go 3 times. I am so grateful to Nate Moore and everything he's done there. We've got a very special guest tonight, but before we get to that, got to do a little business. When you start getting serious, you get a sponsor. And this 15 for 15 show is starting to get serious. Howard Tiger Rags has a new shirt out. It is a Massillon Tiger 4-peat shirt. I'm getting one. You got to go down. They just got them in today. So go down to Tiger Rags and get your 4-peat for us being the regional champion 4 years in a row. So we had to get that out of the way. We want to support our local businesses and everything. So go down to Tiger Rags and thank you, Tiger Rags, for everything you're doing. They are selling our book 15 for 15 in the store. Right now, it's the only place in Massillon you can get it. I'm sure that's going to change, but so there's our business out of the way. We've got a very special guest tonight, and that is WHBC great Kenny Roda. Let's bring him in.
How we doing, guys? Thanks for having me. Fun week to be a part of all this, right? 3 years in a row, like you said, and I can't wait till Friday night to broadcast the game on WHBC.
Well, Kenny, first of all, we go way back, man. Good friend. Glad you could join us. It's a real treat, a pleasure, and an honor. So we're glad to have you. And like you said, Friday night is going to be a fun night for high school football, but especially for Northeast Ohio. So we're just glad to have you, and we're going to be talking about that for the next whatever half hour or so.
So, Kenny, tell me, how did you get to WHBC? Give our viewers a little background on Kenny Roda. How did you end up here?
Well, I was in Cleveland, and David knows this. We crossed paths many years, down the pike when I was in Cleveland at WKNR in Cleveland. We were in Broadview Heights, then we moved to Cleveland. I was there for 21 years when it was AM 1220, and then it became AM 850, then it was ESPN Cleveland. So was there for 21 years, got let go, as in the radio business. It's part of, unfortunately, what we do. And was able then to land a job out in Stark County at HBC, and thrilled to be out there because, David, you know this, I started in high school football at Cablevision way back in the day. So that's
Cablevision.
Yeah, remember that? I mean, way back in the day. The Dolans owned Cablevision before they owned, the Indians. So right. I started at Cablevision and was the sports director, play-by-play guy doing high school football. So I started in Cuyahoga County doing high school football, tape delay on the local access channel. So that's where it all got going for me, and then worked my way up, eventually working, for WKNR and with the Indians and the Browns and the Cavs and pro teams, Ohio State with our good buddy, my fraternity brother, Jim Tressel, who you know very well from your time at YSU, David. When I went back to high school football in Stark County, a lot of people are like, oh, you're taking a step down. You went from Cleveland and you're back to – no. People don't understand. In Stark County, high school football is number one. The Browns are second. Ohio State's are, either second or third. High school football is where it's at on Friday night, and especially in Tiger Town.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you when you said that you covered high school football in Cuyahoga Falls or Cuyahoga County. No disrespect to anywhere else in the world, but I'm from Stark County, lived there my whole life. To me, there's nothing like high school football in Stark County. Am I right?
Oh, as far as the fans and the love for high school football, it is second to none. And depending on the year, it changes from year to year with the talent, right? It's up there as one of the best counties in the state of Ohio talent-wise each and every year. The Federal League is ridiculous usually. This year was kind of a down year, in my opinion, for the Federal League, but congratulations to Perry. They went undefeated, but then Massillon took care of them in the Division II playoffs handily. I live in Medina. So Medina County, the Bees are finally starting their Division I. They're starting to, come around with football and basketball, with Larry Laird as the head coach there, and Chris Hassinger with the boys basketball team, and John Hutchings personal trainer who has done a great job with a lot of the Medina County kids. But when it comes to high school football, and like you said, no offense to Cuyahoga County, Medina County, Stark County is nuts for high school football, and it's one of the most recruited areas, when it comes to high school football as well for major colleges, Power 5 colleges. So it's a lot of fun, and that's why we've got to be on the top of our game every Friday night. We do radio game, stream game, TV game. Think about that. We do 3 games every weekend on WHBC, and we've been doing high school games for 76 years. This is year 76 for us. So we've got to make sure we're prepared, and you're going to see, guys, I've got look at this. It's only Tuesday night, and I've got my preparation stuff ready. That's just the folder. I've got, charts and everything like this. So I don't want to make any mistakes during the game on Friday night, because it could be history for the Tigers winning their first ever state championship during the playoff era. So I'm preparing for it, and I can't wait.
Yeah. You know what, Kenny? I was saying the same thing. I've got my kind of, cliff notes here, but that's part of that journalist, sports writer type thing. But you called it. You can't for as extensive as you guys do at HBC in Stark County, you can't just show up on or even look at some of the things on Thursday, because I worked with you guys, and man, the production that goes into the streams, the live games, all of that, you've got to be prepared. But it also says a lot to the type of talent that's down there. Not that you wouldn't do it for somewhere else, but the type of talent that you're going to be reporting on. So you've got to be prepared.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I pride myself on is preparation. To me, preparation is the key in life, period.
Yeah.
Whether you're a football coach, a football player, a broadcaster, a writer, whatever, if you're well prepared, you're going to present a good product, whatever that product is. So, I prep myself because think about it. The Kenny and JT show, plug here, 3 to 7, Monday through Friday on WHBC, right? We're doing 5 different shows, 4 hours each day, so 20 hours of product every week. So I'm preparing for that, and then on top of it, I've got the game on Friday night that I do the sidelines for, plus I do the Alt Care Stadium show before the game with Rick Worstel. Sorry, Tiger fans, 81 state championship quarterback at McKinley. He's my partner for that broadcast. So it's all about preparation. So I want to carry on the great names, Jim Muzzy, Jim Johnson, Sam Berkwin, everybody that have worked at WHBC. And we have a great staff now. Dan Belford, does the radio games. John Bazika calls the play-by-play on TV. Frank Salona, Derek Philo, Mark Miller, Denny Kincaid, everybody. We all work together, and we pick our games each week. So we try and cover as many teams in Stark County as we possibly can every week.
One of the things that I wanted to get out of the way before we get into the Hoban game, you really and truly impressed me in your interview with Coach Wakefield. You asked him the question that no one in Stark County would ask him. I've been looking in the repository, I've been looking in the Independent, listening everywhere, and nobody would ask him the question that you asked him. Would you like to tell? I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Give our listeners a little recap, and then tell me about your preparation for that question.
Well, it was no secret to anybody who knows football in Stark County that the 2 top teams in Stark County this year were Perry and Massillon. And so when COVID hit this year, normally the computers would decide who the number 1 seed is, who the number 2 seed is, and on down. But this year, because of the shortened schedule, they decided to have the coaches vote on it. And, in each region, the coaches voted 1 through 24, however many teams there were, 1 through 25, right? And they do this for basketball year in and year out. And so this year, I think it's Region 5, because they moved it from Region 7 to Region 5, I think. But all the coaches voted, and then the total points were the way they decided who was the 1 seed, who was the 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, and that played a factor in having bye weeks and everything along those lines, and home games. Well, there's your dog, David. I heard him. Or is that my dog? No, that's yours. So when I saw the final tally, and Perry was the 1 seed, and Massillon was the 2 seed, it surprised me a little bit. Not that Perry isn't worthy of the 1 or the 2 seed. They won the Fed. They were undefeated. Massillon had a loss, but that loss was to St. Ed's by 1 point on opening day, right? And the schedule that Massillon played was extremely tough. I thought tougher than what Perry played. And then I looked and I wanted to see, well, why did Massillon finish second? Well, you go over, and there were 2 schools, and Perry was one of them, right, that voted Massillon like 16th or something. You know, it was like not even in the top 3 or top 4. And I was like, wow, what's that all about? And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's a strategic move by Keith Wakefield, because he knows that Massillon beat him handily last year, 35-7 in the playoffs on a neutral field. Maybe he did it that way just to, try and get home field advantage should they meet in the regional final. And so a lot of people felt that there's some bad blood there between Coach Wakefield, and Massillon, and whether there is, there isn't. That's for him to say. But I wanted to ask him about, hey, did you vote Massillon as far down as you did because it was about home field advantage? And he just came on and said, no, that really wasn't it. And he didn't go into why. And so that led me to believe there was more to it. But that's my job, David. You know this as a reporter. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. LeBron doesn't like to be asked all those questions. And, that you can Google that if you want to see what happened. But that's my job. I don't work for Massillon. I don't work for Keith Wakefield, excuse me. I don't work for Perry. I don't work for the Cavs or LeBron. I work for WHBC or WKNR at the time. And so I'm going to ask the questions as a reporter that you want the answers to as fans.
And you did.
And that's part of my job.
Yeah, and you know what, Kenny? You're right. Those are hard questions to ask, because I've been in that situation, even with Coach Wakefield back in the day when he was in his first round,
Mm-hmm.
But even, there are questions that you're going to have to ask and you don't want to ask, and you're hoping that somebody in the pool maybe asks that. But those are hard questions, and, there are times when you're like, all right.
You got to ask him, though, David. You have to, because it's part of the story. It really is. And the fans deserve the question to be asked, whether or not it's going to get answered. The fans deserve the question to be, and I love Keith Wakefield, and he's been very good to us at WHBC with, calling into our show, for the weekly interview or post-game win or lose and everything like that. But it was part of the story of the game, and it had to be asked. And so it was, and he gave the answer that he gave, and then everybody can make up their mind from there, but at least it was out there.
I know, and I really, really appreciated it. I've always been impressed with you, but that really put it over the top, because I've been disappointed in the local media for not reporting it as a story. Like you said, not making a comment. A journalist doesn't make a comment. It reports what happens.
Right.
And this leads me into my second question, because I'm a diehard Tiger fan. I'm not here pretending that I hope Hoban wins and it's a good game. I hope Hoban scores no points and it's the most boring game for fans and I'm having the time of my life. But how do you feel that Massillon is covered in Stark County versus other teams? Do you think that the playing field is even? How do you see it as someone who moved in here?
I don't have a dog in the race or a pony in the race or whatever cliche you want to use there. I'm neutral. I'm Switzerland, right? My partner that I work with, JT, he's a McKinley born and bred guy. He played there. He played against Massillon. So when they play, he's gonna root for the Bulldogs, and I would expect nothing less. For me, I come in not having any ties to McKinley, Massillon, Perry, Central, Marlington, Alliance, any of the schools that we cover, right? So I just try and look for. We want the best games. We want to try and get as many teams on throughout the year as we can, whether it's TV, radio, or streaming. And then we want the best games to do, because it's no fun. Let's be honest. It's no fun doing a 55-0 blowout with a running clock in the third quarter, and we're talking about what we had for dinner or something like that, right? Nobody wants. So you want the good games. I think from what I've seen, I think the local media does a pretty good job of covering all the schools, and I think that the best way to say this, if you're from Massillon, you're going to think maybe you get slighted. If you're from McKinley and Massillon's playing well, you think you're going to get slighted. It's like when you listen to a broadcast and you think Jim Nantz hates the Browns, and somebody in Indianapolis says, well, Jim Nantz hates the Colts. How could he say that? So it depends on where you're coming from, but I think the media does a pretty good job of balancing everything in Stark County from, my perspective of either social media, radio, TV, or the newspaper.
Yeah. Let me jump in here. Kenny, let me ask you this. Going into this game here, not to slight anything, between the Massillon-McKinley rivalry and the Perry rivalry, but when you look at these two teams and what has been at stake the last 3 years and the type of caliber of players that were on these teams, this has really turned into like a very, very, very special matchup every year, even though you don't know if it's going to happen or not. I mean, what can you say about it? It's really, and they're well played. You don't really necessarily, you're getting the talk before the game, but it doesn't seem like there's any chippiness. It's just hard fought, great quality high school football. I mean, what's your take on these teams playing 3 years in a row and how it's become really, really a special ball game?
These two teams have been two of the best teams, regardless of division, in the state for the last 3 years with Massillon and Hoban, and the last 6 years with Hoban. I mean, think about this, guys. Hoban's going for its 5th state championship in the last 6 years. Massillon kept them last year from 5-peating, right? They had won 2 state titles in Division III, 2 in Division II, and then Massillon beats them in the regional finals last year and knocks that streak out of whack. And it's interesting because you brought that up, David, and here's some more of my notes reading newspapers and everything. I'll give you some quotes here from some of the Hoban players, all right? Daryl Peterson, who's going to Wisconsin, defensive end. Massillon's got to be prepared for him. He had 3 sacks in the win over Avon last week. He said it's going to be fun playing Massillon, okay? You have Victor Dawson, the running back, who had 110 yards, 2 touchdowns last week against Avon, but immediately after the game, the switch was flipped. I'll get it right. Ever since the clock hit 0 last year, that's been on our minds, losing to Massillon.
Yeah.
We'll be ready. So to your point, over the last 3 years, yes, this is the matchup we've all wanted to see. Now, is it on par with Massillon and McKinley? No, because of the history. And right now, Massillon's got the edge like Ohio State has the edge over Michigan. But we see that, throughout the years, peaks and valleys, sometimes high peaks and low valleys, depending on which side you're on. Okay, so I still don't think it's close to that because of the history of that rivalry. And just ask any McKinley fan, and they'll tell you, well, we're still waiting for you to win one during the playoff era. You know what I mean? Don't tell me about the 24 or whatever, so it's still there. Believe me, my partner and a lot of his McKinley buddies. But these two teams, like I said, regardless of division, Pickerington, Mentor, Eds, Ignatius, LaSalle, whoever, I don't care. Hoban and Massillon have been two of the top programs in the entire state of Ohio the last 3 years, and that's why I thought Massillon going into 2018 was going to win. I picked Massillon. I thought they were the better team. Shane Hamm was only a sophomore at quarterback, but Massillon turned it over twice in that game and got blown out the first half, but got within a touchdown in the second half, and then the fake punt. Everybody in Massillon knows about that. Great call by Tim Terrell. To go for it and not give Massillon the ball back to try and tie it up. I applaud him for doing that. So that set the stage for last year, right? And I think we were all upset that they met in the regional final last year. We were hoping it would be in the state finals again, but the regional final, and give Nate Moore and his staff credit, and Nate has downplayed this with me. We had him on our show today, as a matter of fact. But think about what he's been able to do as the head coach and his staff, guys. They lost to Winton Woods the one year in the playoffs, right? Came back the following year, beat Winton Woods. They lost to Hoban in the state finals one year in the playoffs. Came back the next year, beat Hoban last year in the regionals, right? They lost last year in the state finals, right, to LaSalle. What did they just do this past weekend? 14-10. They beat LaSalle. So they have found a way, whether he wants to admit it or not, learning from those losses, learning from lack of execution or mistakes, whatever it was, to come back and beat them. Well, this is the first time really for a third game, right? So each team's won once. They're two of the better teams in the state. So that's what makes this third installment, the trilogy, so exciting for Friday night for myself as a broadcaster, for Tiger fans, for Hoban fans, for high school football fans in Stark County.
Yeah. You brought up that good point, and once you got to Hoban, I kind of saw. I was like, oh, okay, I see where he's going with this. Yeah, because it makes sense, and it's almost like you're a big Duke fan. I know you are.
Come on now, give me my Tar Heels over the Dookie Flukies.
Oh, man. That's right. I knew it was but down in the ACC, it's tough. When those guys play, they're playing, conference games, and then you're in a tournament. Sometimes it's tough. When you face so many teams so many times, you've got to make those adjustments. You never know what's going to happen that third or fourth or fifth time. But let me ask you this: I don't know how many games how many times you've seen Hoban, but from a Massillon standpoint, is there anything that really surprised you in a good way watching them? Whatever games you've seen, over the course of the, because they started out with that loss to St. Ed's, but just gradually picked things up and got better and better and better. Has there anything that surprised you that you really weren't expecting?
From Massillon?
Yes, from Massillon.
Okay, all right. I expected more out of the passing game early in the season. Now, that's probably unfair because I'm thinking about Aiden Longwell, the top passer in Massillon history, and what he was able to do in his 3+ years there, for the Tigers. So it was unfair maybe to, Zach Catrone to expect him to just step right in and pick up, and because he's got Wilson Lamp on one side, he's got Jaden Ballard on the other, he's got Martavian Johnson up the seam, the tight end and everything. So it was probably unfair. So it took him a while, I think, as well as the coaches, to figure out what does he do best? What routes are best suited for him? Yeah, we could throw 50-50 balls and see what happens, and more times than not, it's going to be 80-20 balls, right? Because of the athleticism of two Division I kids. But I think his development in recent weeks, where he's had a touchdown pass in every playoff game, right? We're seeing him maybe grow into the quarterback that's needed for this team to win a state championship. Now, last week, give credit to LaSalle. They did a great job of taking Ballard away, 1 catch, 5 yards, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And, going into, I wrote it down here for my game notes, going into that last drive, he was 4 of 12 for 61 yards. Wow. 1 interception, no touchdowns, right? But the great thing about what he was able to do is, as a quarterback, you've got to be able to forget what happened in the first 3.5 quarters. Yeah. And he was able to do that, and when it mattered most, Catrone delivered that ball right down the middle of the field. Perfect throw. Dan Belford, great call for us on WHBC on that. And Martavian Johnson able to benefit from all the coverage that was given to the other 2 guys. Right. And it's a wide open touchdown pass. So give Zach Catrone credit for the ability to step up when it mattered most, okay? And forget about everything else to make the play that won the game last week. And so, for me this week, he's the most important stat for Zach Catrone is the same for Baker Mayfield. Don't turn the ball over. Yeah. You've got a great defense. You can pound the ball on the ground with that offensive line, and I did the math on it, 6'1", 268 average for Massillon up front, right? Okay. Run behind those guys, mix in the pass here, but don't turn it over, and you have 2 specialists that are as good as anybody in the state, and Alex Bauer and Magnus Haynes, who's the best player I've seen in high school
Magnus Haynes is the 15 for 15 Krause's Pizza winner player of the year. I sent him this week a Krause's Pizza because I called that he is the player of the year, and Dave Morgan told me you don't pick a punter as player of the year. And I said, well, he gets a pizza.
Shame on you, Dave Morgan, for disagreeing with Jim Tressel. What's the most important play in football?
No. Absolutely. No, we talked about that. I told him how important this, the punt is because it flips field position, and Coach Trump always preached that. But this is what I also said, Kenny. I told him this. I've got a Browns number 17 football jersey, right? Yep. And people, when they walk towards me, they think it's Brian Sight. And then they keep walking, and they think it's Braylon Edwards. And then when they turn around, they see it's Chris Gardocki.
There you go. Good man.
Yes, and it's because the year he was an All-Pro, we sucked.
He was the MVP for the Browns that year.
But he was the MVP because he did a great job. So, I mean, trust me, special teams is so special for us. And, like I say, Alex Bauer, I think he's 8 of 11 with a long of I think 42. He's special. Magnus is special. So those guys, they deserve a lot of the credit, along with snapper Dominic Salvino and holder Shane Rue. Those guys do a great job, and they take pride in that. You know what I mean?
They should. And Alex is perfect on PATs too, 46 for 46. And every point matters this time of the year. Every single point matters.
Yeah, good call. You know what? I was just looking at some of the stats you were talking about receiving. One of the things that surprised me, but not in a bad way, but I just thought that I thought Andrew and Jaden would maybe not have the type of year they had with Aiden, because obviously Aiden's a different type of quarterback than Zach. But the fact that we have been able to still run the ball, have that great defense with Andrew and Jaden, combining for 1 catch and 5 yards in that win. It says a lot about a lot of those other guys like Caden Woolard and, Martavian. But then you throw in like a Wiltrell Hartson and Jamasius, who, those guys are just doing so many different things that can kind of compensate for maybe, defenders paying too much attention on Aiden and Andrew. And I love the fact that they're not whining about it.
Right. And that's to me, how can I say this? Not enjoyed. I've been impressed with Jaden Ballar's growth in maturity this year on the sidelines. Okay, I remember last year at times he'd get upset on the sidelines and pout a little bit, or whatever, if he didn't get the ball, or he was open and Aiden didn't, whatever it was, right? I haven't seen that this year, and that's the sign of maturity, where team first over individual stats. And he's going to need to do that at Ohio State, because guess what? There are going to be 4 or 5 other wide receivers down there with him that are just as good as he is. So he's going to have to earn his way onto the field and not be upset if he doesn't make it as a freshman or even a sophomore, right? You're going to have to earn your keep there. So I've been impressed with his growth, in that area. And you mentioned, we haven't even brought him up, Wiltrell Hartson. This kid's a sophomore. He comes in like Beechwood. I think he came from Beechwood, if memory serves me correct. Right? So he comes in, and he's not even in my week 1 when we're putting together these depth charts, right? Week 1, Wiltrell Hartson's not even on my depth chart, right? I didn't know who he was. Some transfers come in, and that's another story for another day with people that gripe at me about things. But he's not even on the depth chart. And then injury. Okay, he gets a chance, and it's all about taking advantage of your opportunity.
Absolutely.
What's it been? 5 out of the last 6 or 6 out of the last 7 with 100 yards, and he sets the all-time record, 324 yards. Think of all the great backs in Massillon history, right? We go back just a few years to Jameer Thomas, who's my all-time favorite, Massillon Tiger for the team-first attitude that he had. And this kid comes in as a sophomore and sets the record for Massillon, and he's an integral part of this offense right now, and he'll have to have another big game on Friday night for them to beat Hoban.
Well, I love that you said that Jameer is your favorite Tiger, because do you know what I think of when I think of Jameer Thomas? Is him scoring a touchdown and just dropping the ball and walking and going to the sidelines. He never celebrated, never threw his hands up, never got in someone's face. I believe if he doesn't get hurt in the Winton Woods game, we're going for our 2nd state championship.
I felt so bad because I was at that game, right?
And had you ever heard a game get that quiet as when he was hurt? It was it was so scary.
His senior year, last chance. He's the all-time leading rusher in Massillon history, and I just was like, oh man, no. I was hoping it wasn't that serious, and then when it was, Ryan, you're right. If they have him, it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
And it's not 35-7 at halftime. Hoban.
There you go.
Okay?
There you go. Yeah.
It's not. It's a different game, and woulda, shoulda, coulda. But you know what? Guess LaSalle. They're going to say, from the other night that Jabrian Payne and Devontae Smith didn't play for them, and they should, if they would have played, we would have beat you. We only lost by 4 points. So it happens. So when it works against you, there's nothing you can do. When it works for you, hey, you don't feel sorry because you know how that feels, and you have to win the game regardless of who's on the field.
And you know what, Kenny? And we battled back. We did a great job of making adjustments in the second half because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think even at halftime when we were down big, Hoban came out and scored another touchdown before we went on that run.
No, it was 35-7 at the half.
Was it 35-7 at half?
The only touchdown they scored was after the fake punt. And don't forget,
did they kick a field goal? Did they kick a field goal?
No, they held them to 7 points in that second half.
Okay.
And the onside kick by Nate, great call. The offense got rolling, man, and I'm standing there, right? And I think they wanted to call timeout, but they didn't. Massillon on that 4th and 2 play, and then I think who was it? Hoban called timeout.
Terrell called it. He called a timeout.
Yeah, and they had their 3rd string guy in there as the up back who got the first down, and they went down and scored, and that made it 42-28 because if Hoban gives up the ball there, it's 35-28 at that point. Massillon gets the ball back. I'm thinking they're going down and scoring, and we got a tie ball game. So give Tim Terrell credit for running the fake punt and not wanting to give the ball back to Massillon in that.
No, because you saw that momentum. I mean, you saw after that first score, and then Adric Ford started to make some big plays. And then you started to see that, and then the defense started to, stop and punt. You saw that momentum shift, and that was the play. That fake punt was the play that broke the camel's back.
So we've talked a lot about Massillon. We actually are playing someone this week. I mean, I wish we weren't, but we are. Tell us about Hoban because we have not seen them play up until this point. What should we be looking for on Friday night from the Hoban Knights?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have not seen them play live. Anything that I have seen is strictly, from video. Okay,
right.
So post-game stuff, video, huddle, anything along those lines. Shane Hamm is a 4-year starter at quarterback. He'll be number 10. All right, so he's got 2 state championships under his belt. Right. He's an okay passer. He's a better runner, in my opinion, than he is a passer. 8 touchdowns rushing, 10 or 11 touchdown passes, through the air. They're going to spread you, from what Nate Moore told me today. They may spread you more this year than they have in the past on offense because I think they saw what LaSalle did to Massillon last year in spreading it out and getting to the edges, and that really hurt Massillon last year in the state title game. So good coaches, this, David, it's a copycat league, man. If you see something that somebody else is doing and it's working, especially against an opponent, you're going to put something in similar to that to see if you can expose a weakness as well.
And they've got the personnel to do that.
And they do. Vic Dawson, the running back, he's number 21, so be on the lookout for 21. He's a big kid, 6 foot, 225 pounds on the season. I'm looking at his numbers: 1,200 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, 8 yards a carry. So he's the bell cow when they run it. And then you've got Braden Fox, former Glen Oak kid who went to Hoban, transferred over there. He's going to Rutgers. He's a 3-star recruit at Rutgers. And the bloodlines, we all know the Fox name in Stark County. So he's number 3. He had a touchdown in last week's win over Avon, 4 grabs or 5 grabs, I think it was, for 85 yards and a touchdown in the win. So you have to be aware of him on the outside. Sean Parnell is also a kid that I'm going to keep an eye on, kind of like Martavian Johnson. And what I mean by that is a lot of attention is going to be paid to Carrion Davis, number 2, a wide receiver, and to Fox. Parnell averages 24 yards a reception. Okay, so that means to me he's their deep guy, right? So he could be flying down the field, the speedster. So Andrew Wilson-Lamp, I'm not sure who they're going to put him on, if they're going to play zone or man, but all three of those guys you've got to be aware of because any one of them can take it to the house. But their key is up front as well.
Yeah.
6'2", 287 is the average of the offensive line. Now, Nate told me something today. I asked him about that, and Nate said, look, yeah, size isn't everything, though. It's about controlling the line of scrimmage with solid technique, use of our hands, and getting off the ball. So maybe if they're bigger and taller, bigger, larger, quickness will be the key for the Massillon defensive line with Mike Miller, Billman, Harris III, also with Woolard on the outside from the linebacker position. So this is a big offensive line. I think it's the only one bigger that I've seen than Massillon's all year and is good. So they'll have their hands full with that offensive line. And this is an experienced team. They've won 2 state titles, most of the kids on this roster, or at least 1 state title. They don't expect to lose. They didn't this year. They didn't know how to react last year when Massillon beat them. That was the first loss for a lot of those kids, in their time at Hoban. So offensively, those are the guys to watch out for. Hamm, Dawson, Davis, Fox, Parnell, and that big offensive line. Defensively, the kid I mentioned earlier that's going to Wisconsin, Daryl Peterson, they had 9 sacks against Avon last week, guys, as a team.
Wow.
9 sacks.
Oh,
all right?
my goodness.
Peterson had 3 by himself. He'll be number 17. He's kind of their defensive lineman, outside linebacker. They'll probably move him around a little bit. But also, A.J. Kirk in the secondary is a kid to watch out for on blitzes. Now, you say A.J. Kirk, why younger brother of Mike Doss.
Oh, wow.
Moved up this year to be with family and friends and go play at Akron Hoban.
Wow.
So younger brother of Mike Doss, he's number 1, A.J. Kirk. Okay, senior, 6 foot, $195. He's going to Michigan State. He's a 3-star recruit. Okay. So they've got 2 Power 5 guys that are the key to their defense from what I've read, what I've seen. And those are the 2 names. I'm sure there are others, that stand out. I haven't gotten into the defensive side as much as I have the offensive side to this point. But their defensive front, they run a 3-3-5. So 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, they have 5. Sometimes they'll go 3-2-6 even, depending if it's a passing team or a running team, or adjust according to what the team does. But the guys up front, 6'2", 257, they're pretty stout up front with their 3 so-called down linemen. But those are the guys defensively to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Hey, Kenny, do you think are they bigger up front this year than they were 2 years ago? Because they had a really big line then.
Yeah, I've got to look into that. I'm trying to find my folders from 2 years ago. I know I kept them somewhere in the office. My organized mess that's on my desk. I've got to get through all that and see if I can find that to see. Because I asked Nate, and Nate doesn't. Nate always gives us time. He always does interviews with us. He doesn't say a lot, and I get that. A lot of coaches don't want to say a lot because I always ask him, what are the keys? And it took me 6 years to answer his question for him.
And I love that today you tried to bust him out by listing the 3 keys and then asking him for 2 more, and he wouldn't do it. Actually, one of my questions down here was, what is it like to interview Nate? Because I always listen to your show, and I think it's so funny how he won't talk. And, I'm an interviewer because that's what I do in my books. And I want to get Nate on this show after the season just to see can I crack him?
The only one who's been able to crack him somewhat is Becca when they do their Facebook show on Sunday nights or whatever it is.
Great call. Yes, that's it. Yep.
And even then, he'll be smug with her too and won't give her or he'll just say, nope. And I laugh because and she doesn't care and she just moves on. But for us, we're trying to get answers out of him, and maybe it's strategic on his part. But occasionally, if I phrase it right or, get him on the right day or something, then he'll give me a little bit. Like last week, Ryan, I did the same thing. I said, all right, Nate, it took me 6 years, but you want to run the ball, you want to stop the run, and you want to win on special teams. Give me one more. And last week he said turnovers.
Right.
Okay. Even though they lost the turnover battle, right, they still won the game. So this week I give him credit. He said, look, Kenny, I'd be lying. I'd be making something up if there was something else in there. And so to him, if you do those three things well, run the football, control the clock, if you stop the run, make them one-dimensional, and you win the special teams battle, extra points, field goals, and field position with the punter, good chance you're going to win the game along with turnovers. Most coaches start with the FIPS. And what the FIPS are, guys, are fumbles, interceptions, and penalties. They call it the FIPS.
Yeah.
So a lot of coaches will go with that. You know, it's about turnovers and the FIPS. But with Nate, it's stop the run, run the ball, and win on special teams. And guess what, guys? It's working. Third straight state championship, right? Sixth year here, 3 state title games, 4 regional championships, and 5-1 against Massillon. So whatever
McKinley.
he's doing, it's working.
Well,
I'm sorry, against McKinley, my bad.
No, yeah, I mean they're interchangeable to some people, but not around here.
I
heard the Hoban coach talk, and he said that he thinks Hoban and Massillon is similar in that they're going to do what they're going to do, and the team that does it better wins the game.
Yeah, execution. Comes down to execution, right? Don't turn it over. And this is one thing Zach has to be cognizant of. Don't try and force it if it's not there.
Yeah.
The punt is okay. Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield, OBJ. How many times have we seen Baker try and keep OBJ happy and force it? Even on the play that OBJ got hurt and is out for the season on, it was a forced throw, right?
Yeah.
Don't force it. It's okay to punt the ball. You have one of the best defenses in Massillon history, maybe, right? It's okay. Let your defense get you the ball back in better field position and start the next possession.
Yeah.
So don't turn it over. Last year in the state title game, you had 2 turnovers, right? Zion coughed it up once, and I think Keys, right? Or no, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. No, you're right. Zion and Terrence, and we had 2, and they were in the red zone, and we actually had 3 turnovers that turned into points.
Right, and then on the very first series last year, if you remember, I think it was 3rd and goal from the 9. They run a fade pattern to Ballard, and he goes up, and it was a little high. I thought a catchable ball, but he doesn't come down with it. And instead of a 7-0 lead to start the game, you have to kick the field goal 3-0, and that was a win for Hoban. You know what I mean?
I said the same thing. I thought that was key. It could have been 7-0.
Right, and it's a different game playing from behind. Now, again, was the pass perfect? No. Was it catchable? Well, yeah, I thought so, but still, it would have been a tough catch. But you had to settle for 3, so you left 4 points on the field there, and you can't do that against a Hoban or a LaSalle and expect to win a state title.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kenny, now I think of as Nate Moore in the FIPS. You know, that's what I'm thinking about now.
And I don't know if he calls it that or, it's some teams it's just turnovers.
Yeah.
To me, it's the combination of the negative things, the fumbles, the interceptions, and the penalties.
Well,
and
penalties have hurt Massillon all year, and mostly personal fouls. That's been my thing because that's something you can control. You really can control keeping your mouth shut. And we had no personal fouls last week, which is why we won.
And I guarantee you, some of these kids are, there's that respect. But when the game gets going between the lines, there's going to be that chippiness, and there's going to be some talk, and you can't react. Don't get baited into a personal foul penalty and a first down to keep somebody's drive alive.
Right.
You look at the Browns. It cost them, this past week on a drive where, Harrison body slammed the dude instead of just tackling him. And they went down and scored and made it a 10-7 game and kept that drive alive. You can't do that in this game, guys. There's too many good players. And this is the other thing. I'll hold it up and I'll read some of these names. But these are Division I recruits from both teams. Wow. I found this on social media in the Division II state championship game. And I mentioned this. You heard the interview with Nate today.
Yeah, you said it's the 2002 Buckeyes.
You go back and watch that national championship game, Buckeyes and Hurricanes. and look at the first-round picks and how many NFL players came off those rosters. The talent on that field was unbelievable, in Tempe, Arizona, and it's the greatest game I've ever been to, okay?
Yeah.
But for a high school Division II high school state title game, Jade Ballard, Ohio State, Andrew Wilson-Lamp, West Virginia, Terrence Rankel, Pitt, Martavian Johnson. To me, he's a Power 5 kid. He's going to go somewhere and play. Jamasius Porter, 3-star. He's uncommitted right now. He's going to play somewhere big. Caden Woolard, to me, is a MAC-type player, at least, okay? That's just the Massillon side. Then you go to Daryl Peterson, Wisconsin, 3-star. Damon Olson, outside linebacker, 3-star, uncommitted for Hoban. A.J. Kirk, Michigan State, 3-star. Braden Fox, Rutgers, 3-star. Chances Carter-Hill, outside linebacker, uncommitted, 2-star. Luke Bauer, Akron, 2-star. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 kids that are D1 caliber that are going to be on that field, along with some other kids that are D2 and D3. The talent on it, it's going to be soaking wet, and hopefully we don't get any rain, but soaking wet with talent on that field in Columbus on Friday night.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kenny, and then you talk about those kids who have been playing alongside of those kids who are starters.
Yep.
Play alongside of those guys who are the Ashlands and the, you know what I mean? Those kind of kids who may be undersized, but could have played in the MAC or a smaller, Division I. But so like you said, on both sides, it's going to be loaded. That's why these games are so great to watch, because it's just loaded with talent from special teams all the way through. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what I want to mention? Daryl Peterson, you remember, because when I worked at the Beacon, I covered the MAC, and I think I covered his dad. He played basketball for Hipshire, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Daryl Peterson. Yeah, they made it to the NIT.
Okay.
From Cincinnati, I think. It's Cincinnati, Western Hills, I think.
All right. Well, you've got a better memory than me, man. I forget what I had for breakfast today.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Daryl Peterson. Yeah, and he was outstanding for the Zips when they had that stretch, with Hipshire, and I forget who came after Hipshire. Was it what's his name? Dambrot? Did he come right after him?
Pete Dambrot. Might have been Dambrot. Or was there somebody in between? I
have no idea what the two of you are talking about. But our Facebook followers, if anyone has any questions, type it in here. We'll answer some questions here quick. If anyone's out there and has questions for Kenny or David, I don't know why you'd have a question for me.
While we're waiting for questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, Kenny, you talk about Stark County, and I'll never, and just how great of football it's played here. I'll never forget this. I did a story. You know how Fox 8 used to fly to different games?
Yeah.
So I pitched that to my boss. I said, hey, why don't you let me get in that helicopter and fly to all of the games? So I drove up to Cleveland, and then we started at, the City Series in Cleveland. They would play afternoon games.
Right.
So we had a game there, and then I flew. It was with Coughlin, Dan Coughlin.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So then we flew from Sky Fox. We flew from there to Copley.
Okay.
And then we flew from Copley to Perry, and then from Perry to Canton South, and then flying back. It was great to just look down and see all of these stadiums lit up everywhere, all the way up through the Cuyahoga Valley National. And then when we were there, that camera was able to from Stowe was able to see the scoreboard at Jacobsville.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was just amazing. Yeah, but it was just fun.
All right, we got a couple questions here.
Yeah. Friday Night Lights, that's why they call it that, David.
From Brandon Kemp, he wants to know, who do you feel is more hungry for the title?
Both. Massillon's never won a state championship in the playoff era, and I gave you quotes from kids from Hoban who are remembering when the clock hit 0 last year and they lost their first game at Hoban with revenge on their minds, and that's what's driven them to this point. So I don't think one's hungrier than the other. We can use the eye of the tiger. Sure, Massillon has that, but the Knights are going to bring it as well. So both teams have motivation to win this game. A loss last year by Hoban, and Massillon trying to break through and get their first playoff state title.
Unfortunately, the answer was me. I'm most hungry for the title. Bob Mitchell says, can you make a prediction for the big game?
I look at this game as one that's going to be a close game and may come down to who has the ball last. And will it be an offense, that makes a play, or a defense that makes the play? I like Massillon's defense this year more than I have the last 2 years. I thought last year they didn't make adjustments against LaSalle when they couldn't stop them from the outside, whether that was the lack of tackling, execution, or whatever. They just didn't adjust. But this defense, it has impressed me. The punting and kicking game is as good as any in the state. So you talk about all three phases. You need all three phases to win a state championship. Well, Massillon's defense is as good as anybody's. Their special teams are as good as anybody's. And offensively, if they don't turn it over, they're as good as anybody's in the state, regardless of division. So I'm going to give you a final score of, let's go Massillon 24, Hoban 21. I think it'll be that close.
It's funny because I think it's going to be 17-14 Massillon. So we're almost.
Like
I don't see either team scoring 3 touchdowns. But I think
I may be on the high side of that.
Yeah.
Okay, but maybe it's on a special teams return. Martavian gets one and takes
right.
it.
But as long as we win, I'm fine with it. Mike Sherritt says, it seems as though the Tigers are a pocket passing team. Do you see more rollouts coming this week in light of recent success with run-pass option?
9 sacks will get your attention, okay? And I know Hoban was up 14-0 last week against Avon. Avon came back and tied it up 14-all in the third quarter, and then Hoban pulled away, went up 21-14, and then they had a pick 6 to seal the deal, 28-14. So that is something I've got to believe that it was Jarrett Troxler and John Mazur are aware of, okay, the co-offensive coordinators, right? Yeah. And Nate's aware of. But is that what Zach does best? You want to put your quarterback in a position to do what he does best. Is he better on the run, or is he better in the pocket? Well, if he's better in the pocket, then you need to keep an extra man in to block, to let him throw from where he's most comfortable. How can I say this? I don't want it to sound wrong, but I don't think they want him taking unnecessary hits. So rolling him out where, he may have to run and take a big hit, just like Aiden. They didn't want Aiden taking hits, right? You want to keep him in the game. So should they mix in a few? Yes, I think they should. But they need to find out what he does best. And if it's from the pocket, then find a way to protect him, to let him throw from where he's most comfortable.
All righty. Well, those were our questions. Thank you so much. You're on the radio for 3 or 4 hours today, and then you spend an hour with us. It really means a lot. And thank you for your kind words about my Letterman book. That really meant a lot to me.
I gave it to a friend already. There it is, last days. Dan Belford. I'm jealous. He got to go to a Letterman taping, okay? And he told me about how great it was, and that's one of my regrets, that I never got to go see David Letterman, do his show. Maybe I'll get to the Netflix one possibly, but still late night. And so Dan is a big fan. So I'm done reading it. I passed it off to Dan so he could read it, because it was great. I love behind the scene. I told you who, what, where, when, why, and how as a reporter, right? So I love the behind the scenes stuff of that, and the 15 for 15 too, with you, David, getting a chance to be a coach on the team. And get the behind the scenes stuff.
I appreciate that.
To me, it's great reading. Go buy it, Massillon Tiger fans, if you want behind the scenes stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. And hopefully, after a Tigers win, we keep our fingers crossed on Friday night. You guys can, put together a state championship book for the Tigers and all the fans out there.
Hey, we thought that was going to be last year.
So did I. To be perfectly honest with you. And, I'll be there on the sidelines taking video and photos. So if you need more photos for your book, I'll take some and send them to you if you need them, guys.
Well, it was kind of you, because in the book, I forget what page it is, but I know we got photos from you that you gave us from the LaSalle game.
Yeah.
Which was
and
great. I don't know how much that's coming out, if that was yours or not, but I know. Oh, it was this one actually. You sent us, and that was kind of you.
The victory, the agony of defeat. Unfortunately, that was that photo, but it shows you how much it meant to those kids and how disappointed they were that they couldn't be that. That one that gets over the hump.
Yeah.
And I know all the other state titles. I'm not, discrediting them. I'm not that person, right? That's the way it was then. That's, how they voted and all that. But yeah, I know it would mean a lot to other past Tiger players to win one in that playoff era, so they don't have to hear that anymore. And that's what they'll.
Well, and I was born in 1970, and that's the last time they won. So they have not won while I'm on the planet. So I'd like to see it.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully they can get that done for you, and you'll get one of those shirts that say state champions on it.
I talked to the guy at Tiger Rags today, and I said I'll take one of everything when they win.
Should be fun, guys. I can't wait for it on Friday night. Our coverage begins. How about this?
Yeah, tell us.
Doing my show live from. I wrote it down. I got to learn how to say this. Fortress Obitz Field, okay? I will be there live at 3 o'clock to do my portion of the Kenny and JT show till 6. Then the Alt Care Stadium show, where you'll hear both Tim Terrell and Nate Moore, the coaches, on that show and get you ready. And then I'll be walking the sidelines as Dan Belford, Denny Kincaid, Mark Miller, call the action on WHBC, and we can't wait to bring it to everybody in Stark County.
Well, we appreciate all that you do. I mean, that's incredible, and because I can't be there because I personally don't think it's safe this year to go to the game. Everyone out there, please wear your mask. Let these kids have their time. So for you to be there and bring it to people like me, I'll be listening all day. If a guest drops out and you need someone, give me a call, man.
Right.
I'll jump in.
Let you know, and I'll have my mask on. I'm a big proponent of this, and we got to stop this pandemic somehow, some way. I'm just happy we've made it all the way through to the state finals.
There you go. And Kenny, again, thank you, man, for coming on and your professionalism over the years, but really your friendship too, because we go back, man, and I really appreciate everything, man.
Hey, anytime you need me, just holler. Glad to help in any way, and good luck to the Tigers on Friday night.
Go Tigers! Order the new book, The Massillon Tigers 15 for 15, by author and 2019 coach David Lee Morgan Jr. Go behind the scenes, in the locker room, and on the field in the new book that follows the 2019 Massillon Tigers season. Order at 15for15book.com. Use coupon code WHS-TV for free shipping.